It's an honor and a privilege that the United States government trusts us to work with them to maintain and push forward a mission that we feel is critical, whether it's at home or abroad. Now, because of the mission set and because of the customers we serve, we demand, require, and strive for excellence day in and day out, as individuals and as an organization. And we've just learned over time that details matter. And if you don't get the little details right, you're going to fail ultimately in the bigger mission.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move. Get ready for insights from this week's guest and your hosts, Kathleen Smith and Rachel Bozeman.
Greetings to all of our listeners. It's so good to have you back in the podcast arena with us today. This is Kathleen, and we're glad you're here.
Hey, it's May, and we just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all you do, and happy Military Appreciation Month.
So we're here learning about really great opportunities, exciting guests who are really doing amazing things in the cleared community. Today, our guest for the show is Adam Fife, CEO of CenCore. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, Adam, we are super excited you're here and really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And something we love to ask of all of our guests is nobody ever started their journey and expected to be where they are today. There was kind of some twists and turns and some unexpected treasures along the way. So if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about your journey, how you became the CEO of CenCore.
Yeah, by default, I started it. So, I haven't fired myself yet. And here I am. That's how I became the CEO. We started back in 2010 and initially started servicing the special operations community on the find, fix, finish mission targeting, and have transitioned significantly since that time as the national security mission set has changed as well. And I haven't fired myself yet, so still here.
Yeah, that's always the difficult thing. You become the cook and the chief bottle washer, and then all of a sudden you're doing everything, and that's really amazing. So you just reached a phenomenal milestone of 1,000 employees. What type of work do? You talked about special operations, but can you give us a little bit more of the nitty-gritty of what you do in the cleared community?
I'd say 95% of our revenue is tied directly to the intelligence community. And I'd say about half of our 1,000 folks are in the physical security space. So think access control, think security escorts, think construction surveillance technicians, really everything from entry level to managing very large data center sites for both the intelligence community and then the large technology companies that support those government agencies. That's probably about half of our employees. The other half are a smattering across software developers, hardware specialists. We've got a lot of intelligence analysts. It kind of runs the gamut. If you've got a full scope clearance, we have a position for you and need to hire you tomorrow. That's kind of the bottom line.
Speaking of need to hire you tomorrow, I know you kind of mentioned just the diversity and the potpourri of talent that you already have in that 1,000 employees in the organization. But let's talk about the friends that you want to add to the organization. So what type of security cleared positions or skill sets are you really hiring for right now?
I'd say half of them are at that full scope level, and the other half are at that CI level, and that's a CI with the Maryland agency. So if you've got a DIA CI, that doesn't count. If you've got a DoD CI, that doesn't count. Almost every one of our positions is for the intelligence community, and that comes with a very unique clearance requirement. And again, the skill sets really run the gamut from software development to hardware to some R&D in the signals intelligence space to cleared structural engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers across the board.
You're an engineer. You're an engineer. We need you. Come on is what I'm hearing for sure. So the next question we always like to ask, because it's what everyone wants to know. All these engineers, all these great positions, where are the positions located?
Most of them are in the Maryland area. So Northern Virginia or Maryland. And then we've got positions in Augusta, Georgia, San Antonio, Texas, Cheyenne, Wyoming, of all places, Utah, Hawaii, Southern California, the United Kingdom. Let's see, Frankfurt, Germany, Seattle, Washington, Denver, Colorado, Fairbanks, Alaska, kind of all over.
Well, I can tell you that's one of the biggest varieties of locations that we've heard in a very long time. So it's really great to hear it because a lot of times people think it's just in the DMV and they don't realize that there is cleared work, specifically higher cleared work in different locations, and you don't have to deal with belt wave traffic.
Yeah.
So, in our earlier discussion with our wonderful Ms. Courtney, you stated that your culture perspective is not a company for everyone and that you believe in radical transparency. Can you sort of walk us through what you mean by radical transparency and how it's important to CenCore?
So that really is tied to the customer we serve and the mission sets that we have. We look at everything that we do from the perspective of, okay, if the large portion of our security roles that we play are tied directly to all these classified secrets and keeping those secure, both the networks and the physical and virtual infrastructure, we've got to do our best and be our best. And the only way we can do that is one, if you yourself are committed to being excellent day in and day out and are both open to giving and receiving near immediate feedback on performance. Done so respectfully, but done so in a way that is absolute clarity is provided so you can do better and be better. We try to be very timely in our feedback. We don't do an annual review. It's rolling reviews. We have ongoing continual trainings. You're tested on your position and your position knowledge daily. You have to maintain a certain level of proficiency. And if you fall below that level of proficiency, you're not necessarily cut out to work for us at the end of the day. It's a high performance environment, and people who don't want to be high performers normally self-select out pretty quickly from our organization.
Fascinating. Then I know that ties into your core values of service, excellence, and resilience. Could you explain a little bit more why those values really kind of anchor into your culture and your organization? And what do you do daily to really live by those?
It's an honor and a privilege that the United States government trusts us to work with them to maintain and push forward a mission that we feel is critical, whether it's at home or abroad. Now, because of the mission set and because of the customers we serve, we demand, require, and strive for excellence day in and day out as individuals and as an organization. We promise the best and we do everything we can to deliver the best. That requires an obsessive level of detail that I think sometimes people really are kind of blown away with when they come work for us. They are shocked at some of the things that we pay attention to and track. And we've just learned over time that details matter. And if you don't get the little details right, you're going to fail ultimately in the bigger mission. And then resilience, at the end of the day, no plan survives first contact. You know, those of you that are former military, that's a relatively common saying. It doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what plan you've put in place. As soon as you go to execute it, upon first contact, it falls apart. That's just the way it works. That's the same on all of our job sites with our customers. You have to be resilient. You have to be able to bring that attitude of service, that commitment to excellence that then leads to resilience in your performance and a willingness to, hey, we are going to figure this out no matter what.
Sounds absolutely amazing. Understanding that clear mentality and that clear resilience, but sounds like you're also going to be very supported when you're part of the team. Talking about support, tell us a little bit more about why mentorship is important at CenCore and why job seekers in general should be looking for mentorship.
Yeah, so our objective at CenCore is to be more than just a paycheck to the employee. Our industry really is a very transactional industry. When we first started, what we quickly realized was that, hey, as long as these guys are getting paid, they're happy, but that doesn't develop any additional loyalty to us as an organization. And as such, that when someone comes and knocks on their door and offers them an extra $2,000, they jump and move on. And what we realized was we needed to focus on developing our employees, no matter where they're at in their career, and then helping them understand what their career possibilities are, both within CenCore and external to CenCore, because sometimes you time out. There's not a new position for you within our organization. And so we want to help you move on to the next thing. And so it starts and ends with active mentorship. And I think you'll find that starts just within the recruiting process. I always joke that I don't call our recruiters, I call them career development specialists, meaning you've got to take a really active interest in the candidate, understand the full breadth and depth of their experience, so that as they plug into the team, the new manager has an understanding of what that experience is. Then that new manager is going to sit down with you and engage you directly on what are the things you're interested in, what is your experience, what are some additional things you could consider, and then we will work with you to help you progress through whether it's a labor category position or whatever it is, so that you're ultimately successful. And That's helped our retention. A lot of times people do really well and they move on, but then they eventually come back and they've gained other experience. And so for us, it's all about mentorship and training, and we're very active in all of that. But, some people don't want it. Again, if you want to come be comfortable, we are not the company for you. We want you learning and growing. If you're not learning and growing, then we're not doing our job as an organization, because if you're not learning and growing, you're also not benefiting the customers you serve.
I'm liking this radical transparency. I think it's refreshing. And certainly, I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people. People just want the truth. Just give me the truth. I think there was even a movie about that. I digress. But, something that you talked a lot about was the mentorship and really kind of taking internal talent and helping them get to their next career. But I'm super excited to ask you a little bit more about the National Security Program, because I know this is something that we don't get to hear a lot very often in the cleared community. But this is taking folks that might still be in college or pursuing education and really helping develop them. Can you tell us a little bit more about that strategy and your process and what you're doing in that space, Adam?
Yeah, so this is something we started back in 2016 or 2017. And where we're at now is we work with 42 different colleges, universities, and technical schools. And what we do is we identify individuals that are interested. If you're in these schools and you walk into your career office and you say, I'm interested in some career in national security, you're routed automatically to our national security program team here at CenCore. And what we do is we sit down and we say, okay, so what is it you're interested in? And then we work with them, and then we clear you through one of our security programs, which, because they're mission critical positions, you are able to get to a full scope oftentimes in under 9 months, which is unheard of, right? So we get you to that full scope clearance. And then while you're in college, we ask that you spend your summers working for us as an access control specialist at any one of our sites, kind of across the country. And while you're doing that, you are going through a program that teaches you about primarily the intelligence community, careers available within the intelligence community, and how what you're studying as an undergraduate, what those careers are and how we can apply those. And by the time your senior year rolls around, we have actively worked to place you, if you're a software developer, on a team that does that work directly. And what it is the biggest challenge in our space is you need to green the workforce. There's just not a lot of entry-level talent that has the clearance levels that are required. And so this was kind of our answer to that particular challenge. And I checked this morning. Right now, we've got 692 people working their way through that particular process. As a matter of fact, we are the largest initiator of new clearances as a contractor almost across the industry. And we do it for and in behalf of our customers. We work with our customers on this. They know what we're doing. Honestly, half the time, these people don't even come work for us. They get a blue badge and they go work directly for the customer, which is fine, right? It's just an investment in the future. We just want to get the best and the brightest into the national security arena because we feel like that's where they should be.
That's amazing. Thank you for doing that. I really think that is an amazing program. And you're right, we do need more entry level, and there isn't enough out there explaining how critical this work is and how rewarding this work is. So, something else that you're doing that's unique is that you helped chair a committee with one of the major intel agencies that explored what a hybrid remote workforce would look like. Tell us a little bit about that experience and your thoughts on hybrid workforce in the intel community.
I'll start it off by saying there needs to be a hybrid workforce solution in the community if they want to retain the best and the brightest. Period. Like full stop. There's no other way to do it. And COVID almost so closely got us there. This sounds really bad, but if COVID had continued on in some horrible fashion for another year, we would have actually operationalized it and we'd be in a fully hybridized environment right now. So the long story short, we conducted a very detailed study over 2 years. You can write 85% of code in uncleared environments from your kitchen, sitting at your window, sipping your coffee. You can get an 85% solution. And then you need to take and lift and shift it to the classified networks to finish off a product. And we proposed that concept. They think they want it, but they have a really hard time. It just makes those poor security people, and we work with them day in and day out within our organization, it just makes them very, very nervous. And I honestly think we're another 5 to 10 years away before reality finally sets in and they realize people are just walking out the door, and it continues to be a huge issue. So their hand will eventually be forced. We'll get there, but it's still a ways out. So for all your listeners out there that are getting promises of hybrid, yeah, to be honest, it's not. We're not quite there yet. So if your recruiter's telling you you're going to be in a hybrid environment, you need to challenge that particular statement because yeah, we're not quite there. Maybe one day a month you get to work from home, but that's not a hybrid working environment.
Yeah, in specific agency intel environments, because we do talk about a hybrid workforce a lot in a lot of other areas. So I just want to clarify.
Yes. On the DoD side, like if you've got a secret level clearance and they're telling you hybrid, 100%. Like that is absolutely doable. Every once in a while, you got to hop on Zipper.
Yeah.
So, but everything at the full scope level, which is the world we live in, to be honest, that day is a ways off.
Well, one thing I really appreciate in this conversation is just your honesty and, just kind of telling us how it is according to Adam. And so I heard that you have a certain opinion about those job hoppers. I'm sorry I had to say it, Adam. I did say it. The job hoppers out there. So tell us what you really think and why hopping just ain't cool.
It's one of the dumbest things you can do long-term for your career, period. Because here's what it is, right? You eventually get to a point where your resume becomes toxic. And anyone who's got their full scope listening to this will know it. You're going to get hit up 10 times a week for that extra $2,000 or $3,000. And a lot of times that's tempting, but there's so much value in developing expertise with a particular customer set that over time you make more money because your value becomes significantly higher. Because you're not the one arguing for your position. Your customer is. And I, as the owner and holder of the contract, I'm going to listen to the customer. If the customer comes to me and says, you can't let so-and-so go, or so-and-so just said they're going to leave, they've been here for 3 years, can you throw them an extra $10,000 or $15,000 a year to keep them on board? It's also likely that I'll be able to negotiate with the customer that particular salary increase. But that's because you've demonstrated your value. You're not going to demonstrate your value to a customer, to your company, is if you just keep moving around. So long term, it is absolutely to your benefit. When you find a mission set you like, stick it out. Don't leave. The money will come, and you'll end up making more in the long run than you do by just jumping around.
Preach it, Adam. Preach it. Thank you. So, since we got you on the roll of tips for job seekers, what is an interviewing tip or recommendation you would have for our listeners?
You need to know the company. You need to know kind of their background, what they do, get an idea of what the program is. Again, in our world, there aren't a lot of programs, so it's pretty easy to kind of figure out where you're going to fit in. But one of the questions I'm always intrigued by when a candidate asks, and I still do interviews for some of our more sensitive programs, the question I love is, where do you see me fitting in to either the team or the organization, et cetera? Because what that forces me to do is in this case, as a hiring manager, is to stop and think and visualize this candidate as a team member, as an employee, and then verbalize how I see that fitting. So what ends up happening is I then, as the hiring manager, I'm now closing myself on you as the candidate. And it also, as the hiring manager, sometimes I'll get asked that question, and I realize as I'm trying to explain it to them, I'm like, you know what, you actually probably aren't a good fit. That also is a benefit because you don't want to go work somewhere where perhaps you're not a good fit. And you get 3 months into it, you're like, wow, I made a mistake, right? And that happens. No matter what, those types of things happen. But that's one of my favorite questions.
Well, I know you've gotten a lot of people very excited at learning a lot more about the organization, but it starts with you, right? I mean, you did say you might be in charge around there. So how in the heck can the listeners get in touch with you or some of your career development specialists on your team?
So your best bet is to go to our website, which is CenCoreGroup.com, and click on our careers page. And as soon as you apply, one of our people will reach out to you almost immediately.
Awesome. This has been thoroughly enjoyable. I've really appreciated you taking the time with us today and share a lot of your really exciting ideas. Thanks so much for being here, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Great talk today. Adam had some interesting things to say, and I loved his thoughts on job hopping. I really thought that it was amazing for people to understand that you will gain experience in understanding a particular mission-centric program and build your value the longer you stay with a customer on a contract and it is not worth your while to jump to another contract just for $2,000 or $3,000. Once you build your experience, your contractor can go to the customer and say, I want to give this person more money. So how about you, Rachel? What did you like?
I was going to talk about the job hopping, but you preached it, sister. And definitely, hopefully, that sparks some interest and encourages some folks to really make sure they invest in their own experience to pay off in the long run. But something else that I really appreciated that we just don't get to hear so often is about the National Security Program. I thought how innovative and cool to go out there. If you can't find it, build it. And really taking the time to invest, knowing that they're going out there working to get all these clearances, making people aware that there are opportunities, and doing it with such radical transparency. I don't know about y'all, but I had an awful lot of fun learning with Adam today. This might shock you, but all this content you got was free. So all we ask is that you keep on coming back.
And maybe, can you do that 5-star review? We'd really appreciate it. Bye-bye.